you were tasked to read the lesson from what then say fact, and then up to how to spot a scientist, and together with an activity on so you're gonna draw two things, and for each drawing, so you need to come up with what belief knowledge about the said thing, or the said event or scenario or situation, and as well as the research knowledge about it. Okay, so now we have the history and philosophy of science. So what separates us from the animals? And we know the reason, isn't it? And so according to Thomas Sadendorf, our imagination and having friends with imagination. Our imagination is actually from our mind, our ability to think. Then, according to Russell, so our ability to speak, so having our own speech, our ability to create fire, our ability to farm, to plant, and then to farm animals, and then our ability to write, then the creation of tools that we need, then having large scale corporation. It sets humans apart from animals. So that is according to Russell. Then so the history of science can really be called the history of curiosity, survival, and more. So, since the history of science is considered to be a history of curiosity, so remember that everything around us, so all of it are present because of the curiosity of people. And also, to in order to survive, so just like creating the tools, creating fire, okay? So with agriculture, so people need to have food instead of well um looking for animals to eat, even for plants, for fruit bearing trees, so that they can have something to eat. Then also another thing, when it comes to fire, so people during the old days, so they are able to, they do have the technology on how to cook, so they are able to produce fire, so from chipping stones, and and others. During the pre-classical and classical, so for the sciences, so we have here comparison of the Egyptians and the Babylonians. The Egyptians, they are they are excellent at geometry, but then poor in arithmetic and math, could not do fractional computing. So that is for the Egyptians. The Babylonians are excellent at math, using sexagesimal base 60 system used in algebra, but poor in geometry. Then when it comes to astronomy, the Egyptians are primitive. Excellent calendars trying to reconcile solar and lunar cycles, establish the 365 days a year and 24 hours a day. So our knowledge about the number of days in a year as well as the number of hours in a day, so those are from the Egyptians. Then for the Babylonians, for astronomy, so moon-oriented, especially about ellipses. Then when it comes to medicine and surgery, so the Egyptians are, they do have empirical study, while for the Babylonians, so it is empirical later use of astrology. For the Greeks, it is a mixed metaphysical and physical speculation when it comes to the science. So they do have this metaphysics, which is the search for general and eternal principles Physical, so it is logical, causal explanation of phenomena. For astronomy, develop the conceptual models. Basic assumption, so geocentric and geostatic, cosmos is finite. Actually, we do have this conceptual models later. Perfect circular motion, and then well, for the Greek, so we know Plato. So well, um, with Plato, so it is the coherent metaphysics and looked for forms. Aristotle accepted reality as it appeared, accepted idea of change. And then for Ptolemy, applied math to models. Okay, so the important people or the important Greeks are Plato, Aristotle, and Ptolemy. So Aristotle from 384 322 BCE. So Aristotle is the one who emphasized the natural philosophy based on observation and systematic logic. He is the one who introduced the scientific method, which is very popular. Okay, so we individuals who studied science from the elementary up to high school, and then well, if you do have well, science subjects even in college, or well, so even those students in other universities, so having the science subject, they still do follow the scientific method. So it is from Aristotle. He disproved that the earth was flat. Okay, it is not flat according to Aristotle. He is the tutor to Alexander the Great. He founded the Lyceum, and he is regarded as the father of biology. So that is Aristotle. The Aristotelian cosmology. So according to Aristotle, so this is, well, so this is how the earth, okay, so we can see here the earth, the other planets together with the sun, then the moon, how they are well, arranged. And then we can see the elements of fire and then air in this illustration. Then with well, so we can see around, so there are many stars. So according to Aristotle, so we do have the what we call as heavens. And these heavens are uniform in uniform circular motion. There are perfect and incorruptible. And then we do have the sublunar. So they are well, natural place and natural motion, generation and corruption, earth, water, and fire. Cold, hot, moist. This is moist, so moist, dry, and affinity. So in the Aristotelian cosmology, the what we consider as heavens are actually those are above the earth. Okay, so like well, so we do have here the moon, the sun, the other planets. And then for the sublunar, so these are what? This can actually be generated. So we do have the water, air, and then fire, and then including the earth. Okay? So from the earth, and then on this portion, actually the blue one here is the water. Okay, so the earth, the water, air, and the fire, so these are the sublunars, and then the heavens are those that are above it. Then Ptolemy. So Ptolemy is a Greek Roman astronomer, so we already mentioned him a while ago. He is a mathematician, a geographer, astrologer, a poet, and then he is from Alexandria, Egypt. So he created a better geocentric model, okay, of the universe. So if you can see, okay, so this is the bigger one. So in this, the bigger set of circles here on the right. So you can see that we do have here, in this portion, the yellow. So with it, so we do have the Earth, and then the Moon, then Mercury, Venus, and then the Sun. Then outside, so we do have Mars, followed by Jupiter, and then Saturn. So this is the model of the universe, so according to Ptolemy, as designed by Ptolemy. So you can see that the Sun is in between Venus and Mars. The science stagnated during the Middle Ages. So when we say stagnated, so there was no no changes, no development. Okay, so it was stuck. During the Middle Ages, so it is so there's the fall of Western Roman Empire, then to the up to the Renaissance period. Okay, so that is the what we consider as the Middle Ages. So from the fall of the Western Roman Empire up to the Renaissance. So what can be or what were the causes for the stagnation of science during this period? So the Greek culture declined, cutting off Greek scientific and philosophical roots. But then remember, so with the Greek, so we do have the important, personalities or people, which are Aristotle, Ptolemy, right? And so followed by so scientific inquiries based on no often incomplete sources. So if there are scientific inquiries, so remember that we should have proofs. We should have a valid source. So if the sources are incomplete, oh well, what can we say about it? And then 6th century, the urbanization. Then so monastic cathedral schools centered on the Bible. So if we're talking about science, so there was a stagnation of science when what was taught in schools, okay, was all about the Bible. And we discuss about it, about the belief knowledge and the research knowledge. So if the Bible was taught, so it was basically belief knowledge. Then in 1200, so Latin translations of Aristotle, Euclid, Ptolemy, Archimedes, and Galen. Okay, so there were Latin translations except for the work of Plato. And then also during the Middle Ages, so the Black Death, so it happened. It is actually the bubonic plague. So if you watch movies about it, if you read what happened during that time, so many people got sick and many people died. So it was actually the it is it is like a virus that started from rats which were infected and then transferred to animals, and then the animals transferred it to the humans, and then the humans they get sick and then some died. And of course, so many people died during that time. So if you have time, kindly read about it, or if you can watch a video so about the Black Death. So one third of the European population died. So it it was really the time when many people were infected. So especially in crowded towns where innovation is happening. Okay, so when we say innovation, when innovation is happening, so somehow there's the development when it comes to science and technology. But then since there were many people during that time and it was crowded, so the bubonic plague, so many people were infected. Okay. And if that is the case, so well, there will be a stop in the development of science and technology. Okay. So as what you can see in this chart, or in this graph, okay, in 1000 BCE, so during the Egyptians, so you can see here, so the improvement of science during this time, so it is in orange. And then during the time of the Greeks, so somehow it is higher. Then it became, okay, even higher during the time of the Romans. And then during the Dark Ages, the Middle Ages, so you can see that it what? So somehow, well, the development of science wasn't that too good. So there was a stagnation. Okay. Um, then somehow it recovered during the Renaissance, and then Age of Enlightenment, and then up to 2000 CE. Okay, during the modern science. So just think about it. So we could have been exploring the galaxy by now, right? So if you're gonna take a look at this, well, this light blue, this purple, this is kind of pinkish, okay. Um, then this red one, if we're gonna move this three, okay, to the left, so possible the development of science, so it will be more advanced, and there's a possibility that we are now exploring the galaxy, although there are already scientists right now who are exploring the galaxy, right, the NASA. But then most likely if there was no stagnation of science, so well, many people would have the well, the privilege to explore the galaxy, right? Then so Columbus discovers India and opens a new world. So just disregard this A here. Spain and Portugal, they are considered to be the biggest winners, controlled largest areas and resources. If you can remember the history of the Philippines, so um, Magellan, okay, so discovered the Philippines. Who is from where? Is it from Spain or Portugal? Kindly read your, well, read the history. Okay, go back to the history. And then wealth of precious metals, plants, and animals to eat or use for profit. So these things made made Spain and Portugal attracted, okay, to other areas or other lands, other well, so other places. And then there was slavery for colonies in Europe. So actually, we were part of it. So being we were once a colony. Then New World, so called into question long-held beliefs. It did not fit existing biblical descriptions. So New World. So there was a new world during that time. Then Nicholas Copernicus. So his work was this is on the revolutions of the heavenly spheres. And according to Nicholas Copernicus, so the sun is at the center of the universe. So unlike Ptolemy's work in which the earth is at the center of the universe. So with Copernicus, sun is the center of the universe and argued that the Earth moved across the heavens as one of the planets. Okay. He is a mathematician who could read Greek and use Ptolemy's data to plot the orbits. So he improved the work of Ptolemy. In the center of it all rests the sun. This overthrew the hierarchy of the ancient and medieval cosmos. And we do have Francis Bacon. So his work is the new tool. So described the Baconian method of science. Actually, he is the one who developed the induction. Let us go to the next slide. So we do have Aristotle versus Bacon. So in search of the best way of discovering nature's law. So for Aristotle, he has the idea about the deduction. So from general to specifics. And then Bacon, so induction, specifics to general. Actually, we are applying this. So whether deduction or induction, if you can well, if you would notice, so we have it in science, even when it comes to the languages, even when it comes to math, well, even with other fields. So we do consider deduction and induction. And Galileo Galilei, so math of motion, the pendulum, falling objects, and then projectiles. In astronomy, he invented the telescope. Saw sunspots, phases of Venus, lunar craters, moons of Jupiter, Milky Way, made of stars. He supported the heliocentrism. And then he has a work which is the Dialogo. So compared Ptolemaic system, so unfavorably over Copernican. So because of this, he was tried by the Inquisition in 1633 because of his work, the Dialogo. Then we have René Descartes. He is a French mathematician and philosopher. Then the father of modern Western philosophy. Then abandoned scholastic Aristotelianism. The first modern version of mind-body duality. It is his discovery. And then he promoted science grounded on observation and experiment, which up to now we are following. Then he created the Cartesian view of the universe. Then coined the term molecule. So you are familiar with the molecule. So it is from Rene. Actually, the Cartesian plane, it is also, well, it is also from him. Next, Isaac Newton. So Isaac Newton's contributions are the theory of light, the theory of motion, gravity, then the Philosophia Naturalis Principia Mathematica, dynamics, alchemy, theology. Okay, so that is Isaac Newton. So each new discovery adds to the next. If you can remember, so when it comes to science, the discoveries before, okay, so it can be continued up to now. And then there can be improvement when it comes to the findings, when it comes to the discovery itself. And then in the future, it can also be done. So if I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of the giant. So that is according to Isaac Newton. So what does it mean? So when it comes to science, so discoveries, okay, the present discoveries, so we need to consider the previous ones, okay? And this will also happen in the future. So the future researches can be also based on uh, what we do have right now, and even well, the experiments or discoveries that were had before. Okay. Creationism versus Darwin. This is actually Darwinism. The creationism, I already mentioned this when we had, well, a slide, if you can remember, the slide with the conversation of the son and the mother about teaching evolution to creationists. So, well, so what are the creationists, what are the creationists, so what they do believe with? So God is absolute, is the absolute creator of all. So it means that God created man. God created everything. So God is constantly involved in creation. Then Archbishop Usher's 16th century calculation of the Earth's age of about 6,000 years old. So that is according to the creationists, that the Earth is about 6,000 years old. Then that there are 6 days of creation. Then the creationist disbelieves world due to evolution. So, well, they don't believe about Charles Darwin's work. Okay, his origin of species, facts of evolution. All organisms result from natural processes from simpler forms. Population pressures leads to struggle for existence. And then struggle and variation leads to natural selection. So these are the disbeliefs of the creationist. But then who is Charles Darwin? So he wrote the theory of the origin of species, but then he did not publish it. Then Darwin's friends arranged for the simultaneous or simultaneous publication of Wallace and Darwin's theory of natural selection. Wallace published his book on natural selection, which is called the Darwinism. So these are the Darwin's finches. So you can see that so it will uh, depend on the beak of the bird. So once you see that the beak of the bird looks like this, so it means that it is a bird that it's lives. Okay. So this one eating seeds, eating insects, buds and fruits. Okay. So this is also so a complete version. So we do have the cactus finch, okay, eating cactus, vegetarian finch, mangrove, and so on and so forth. So what are the evidences supporting evolution prior to Darwin? So this fossil, um, so considered to be evidence of God's playful nature, replicas of living things. There is also an evidence, so the geologic history of Lel, then the species change by Lamarck, and extinction by Cuvier. So these are the evidences supporting evolution before Darwin. So according to Charles Darwin, so this is the quote, so it is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. So now let us have James Watson, Francis Crick, Rosalind Franklin, and Maurice Wilkins. So these are the people. So based on the arrangement of names, so you can also see their pictures. So this is Watson. This is Crick. This is Franklin, and then Wilkins. So what was their contribution? So co-discovered the double helix structure of the DNA. It is the basis for modern biotechnology. And then Watson's and Crick they were recipients of the 1962 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. So this was, considered to be a great discovery in which up to now, so, this is very popular. Then Edwin Hubble and the expanding universe. So he discovered other galaxies, profoundly changing the way we look at the universe, and demonstrated that the universe was expanding. He had the he had the Hubble's law, so in which galaxies move away from the Milky Way at a speed directly proportionate to the distance. And then, so he is considered to be one of the most influential astronomers since the times of Galileo, Kepler, and then Newton. So for mass and energy conversion, so you are familiar with this, okay? The E equals to mc squared. So this is the formula for mass and energy conversion, which was created by or developed by Albert Einstein, and it is known to be the theory of relativity. So it is said that energy is equivalent to mass times square of the speed of light. So this is a contribution from Albert Einstein. Then Stephen Hawking's, the greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance. It is the illusion of knowledge. So illusion. Okay? So we do not have any basis for it. Then in the Philippines, so brief history of science and technology in the Philippines. So during the Stone Age, archaeological findings show that modern men from Asian mainland first came overland on across narrow channels to live in Batangas and Palawan about 48,000 BC. Then formed settlement in other places such as Sulu, Davao, Zamboanga, Samar Negros, Batangas, Laguna, Rizal, Bulacan, and Cagayan. So that is during the Stone Age. Then what were the inventions? So the Filipinos or the first people in the Philippines, so they made simple tools and weapons of stone flakes. okay, out of stone flakes, and then developed the method of sewing and polishing stones. Then they were able to produce ornaments made from seashells, and then there was also the pottery. Then until they imported Chinese porcelains. Then they learned how to produce copper, bronze, iron, and gold metal tools and ornaments. During the Iron Age, so during this time, so the Filipinos were engaged in extraction, smelting, and refining of iron from ores until the importation of cast iron from Sarawak and later from China. So that is during the Iron Age. They were able to extract, to smelt, and refine the iron. So inventions or discoveries, so they learn how to weave cotton, to make glass ornaments, and to cultivate lowland rice and dike fields of terrace fields, utilizing spring water in mountain regions. They also learned to build boats for trading purposes, and so there was the Karakoa. So it is suited for inter-island trade raids. So it is considered to be warship. Okay, so it is said that Spanish chronicles noted refined plank-built warships. That is the Caracoa. Then in the 10th century, so Filipinos from the Butuan, so they were trading with Champa, which is known now as the Vietnam. Okay, Vietnam. And those from Mai, so known today as Mindoro, with China as noted in Chinese records containing several references to the Philippines. So the findings indicated that regular trade relations between Philippines, China, and Vietnam. So it was from the 10th to the 15th century AD. Then for the trading, so the people of Mai and Sansu, which is Palawan, so traded beeswax, cotton pearls, coconut heart mats, and many others. So also so together with the iron needles, the tin. Then before the Spaniards, so Filipinos were already engaged in activities and practices so related to science, forming primitive or first wave technology. So they already know, so the Filipinos already know how to extract medicines from plants, from herbs. Then they already have their system of writing, they already have their own alphabet, okay? They already know how to count with the knowledge on weights and measure. And then during that time, so before the Spaniards, so they don't have calendar, but then they counted the years by the period of the moon and from one harvest to another. During the Spanish regime, so you can see here that schools were founded. So just like the Colegio de San Ildefonso Cebu and Colegio de San Ignacio. So that is in 1595. Then 1597, Colegio de Nuestra Señora del Rosario. Then in 1601, so Colegio de San Jose, Manila. So you would notice that during the Spanish regime, so schools were established, and the names are after the saints. Okay. So that is in the 16th century. And then also, so development of hospitals. So other than the development of schools, so there were also hospitals. So just like the San Juan Lazaro Hospital, which is considered to be the oldest in the Far East. So it was founded in 1578. And then in 17th to 18th century, so what happened? So successive shipwrecks and attacks of pirates on the galleons. So it led to the declining of profits from the trade. So it led to economic depression in Manila. Also to continue, so the Real Sociedad Económica de los Amigos del País de Filipinas. So it was founded by Governor Jose Vasco uh, Vargas. Jose Vasco Vargas in 1780. So it encouraged the research in agriculture and industry, promoted the cultivation of indigo, cotton, cinnamon, and silk. Then in 1789, so Manila was open to Asian shipping, inaugurating an era of increase in export of rice, hemp, tobacco, sugar, and indigo, and then imports of manufacturing goods. Also during the Spanish regime, so in the 19th century, so colonial authorities issued a royal decree to reform the existing educational system. And then the School of Medicine and Pharmacy were opened. So in UST. Then it granted the degree of Licenciado en Medicina to 62 graduates after 15 years. Okay. So after 15 years of being after the opening of the School of Medicine and Pharmacy, so there were 62 graduates. And then also, so the um licentiate degree equivalent to a master degree was granted, bachelor's degree in pharmacy, to its first 6 graduates, who included Leon Maria Guerrero, considered was the father of Philippine pharmacy due to his works on medicinal plants of the Philippines. So Leon Maria Guerrero, father of Philippine pharmacy. Then during that time, so there were no school for engineering. But then these subjects were offered to to nautical 4-year course for pilot of merchant marine. So during that time, so they already have these subjects. And then to continue, so higher education was generally viewed with suspicion as encouraging rebellion, so among native Filipinos. During the Spanish regime, if a Filipino would like to study college, so well, he would be somehow considered to be a rebel. Okay, a rebel. So the expanded world trade and commerce in the later part of the 19th century led to the rapid development of Manila as cosmopolitan center. Then there were already steam, tramways, waterworks, newspaper, electric lights, and then banking system. So that is in the 19th century. And then so there is the Manila Observatory in Ateneo in 1865. So that is by the Jesuits. Then these are the pictures, okay, during those time or during those period. So just this is just to show to you the smelting and refining of iron. So you would notice, so there's the improvement of science and technology during this time. So whether when it comes to education, when it comes to business, when it comes to on how people work, when it comes to producing, okay, something. So we can see that there was already an industry during that time. Okay. So the ship, weaving. So remember that the Filipinos, they were able to import and export during that time. So same way as what the country is doing right now. Then system of writing, the schools. Okay, so that's it for the day 2 of week 2. So thank you. I hope that you learned something from this lesson.